All right. So, kids, my little grasshoppers, so you've got a question about responsibility. Well, I got a couple of answers, and I got a couple of ways that I want to split them up because there's honestly a lot of different definitions. Well, I wouldn't say different. There's just a lot of ways to explain responsibility, um, but I do want to simplify it a little bit. So, get out your dictionaries. You know what to do, my grasshoppers. One of the definitions that I've got here for you is the quality or state of being responsible, something for which one is responsible, or the quality of being dependable. That is Merriam-Webster's dictionary definition of responsibility. There's another one. Let me see if I can find it here. There it is. A form of trustworthiness, a trait of being answerable to someone or something for, or being responsible for one's actions. That comes from vocabulary.com. And my light just dimmed. That sucks. I'll adjust that later. But that's a lot of words, and I do want to, like I said, I want to split that up into two different parts here. So, responsibility split into, I like to call inherent responsibility and given responsibilities, or also known as personal responsibility. So there it is. So two parts to it. So inherent responsibility and personal responsibility. I like to call them given responsibility, and I'll explain why I say given here in a sec. Let's start with inherent responsibility, because this is one that I do want. It's going to provide an excellent foundational understanding. The what one would call inherent responsibilities is things that can are often not assigned to someone, ergo given. That's why I say given. It is something that they have of themselves. So it's more, this is what you must do in order to be. This is your responsibility in order to be. So it's typically self-involving, and it's often something that you grow, that grows with you. It's a type of responsibility that simply grows with you. For example, brushing your teeth. This is your inherent responsibility. It is to care for yourself. I can tell you to go brush your teeth every day, but ultimately you have to go and do that. I cannot do that for you. So that's why I say it's an inherent responsibility, but it doesn't involve, and the reason why I say inherent is because it doesn't involve anyone else. It only involves you. Another example of inherent responsibility could be bathing, hygiene, eating healthy. That's an inherent responsibility. I can tell you what to eat, but ultimately only you can decide what you want to eat. Maintaining your bodily health, exercising, also your mental health, that's all inherent. Another example of inherent responsibility, and this is one of my favorites, is learning from past mistakes. So by example or by experience. So I can teach you how to do something like this video. All these videos are meant to teach you. So I can teach these videos over and over and over to you. But ultimately, you, as my grasshoppers, you must learn from these videos. That is your responsibility at the end of the day. You must learn from them, or you would go out in the world and you would experience life. And by those experiences, it's up to you to learn from those experiences. Those are all what I would call inherent responsibilities, because they do not involve anyone else. To put it in a little bit deeper of what inherent responsibility, I did mention bathing and brushing your teeth and eating healthy and things like that. For example, as a baby, as you were growing up, you could not, bathe yourself. You didn't have teeth, obviously. You were a dummy, so you didn't need to brush your teeth. You couldn't change your diaper, and you could not maintain yourself. those are still inherent responsibilities, but because you were incapable of doing that yourself, those responsibilities fell on me and your mother. But as you grew older, those responsibilities then fell upon you as you became more capable of doing them. This is what I mean by inherent responsibilities grow with you. So once you became able to bathe yourself, that responsibility became yours. Once you grew your teeth in, um, the responsibility to then brush your teeth and maintain them became yours. Once you developed preferences for type of food you liked, um, I can buy the food, me and mom can make the food, but ultimately it's up to you to decide whether or not you want to eat it. So these are your inherent responsibilities. When you were a baby, we fed you what we believed was best for your health, baby food and whatnot. But once you gained the age of you could decide what food you wanted to eat, then the responsibility was yours of whether or not you wanted to eat what was on offer. So that is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about inherent responsibility. These are only for you. They cannot be taken away. Given responsibility, also known as personal responsibility, they are typically assigned to you. And there are a lot of examples that I could give for that. Unfortunately, I would be here all day. So I tried to give a few examples here just to get a baseline on what that means. So say for example, you get a job at McDonald's or whatever, Walmart or something like that. It is your personal and given responsibility that you are assigned a shift and you are to arrive at that shift at the time you are requested to. Here's the shift. You're to start at 8. It is your responsibility and given and personal responsibility to arrive at that shift on time. Another one is driving. You're 16, 18, you got a car. That car is a privilege. It is not an inherent responsibility. It is a given responsibility. You are to adhere to the laws of the road, and as a result, it is a privilege to drive that car. If you violate the laws of the road, you no longer have that privilege. Your driving license will be taken away, and you lose that ability. So that's why I say given, because given responsibilities can be taken away, like privileges of driving a car. Or if I bought you a phone when you were 14, 12 or something like that, and I bought you a phone, I am giving you that responsibility to take care of that phone and to use it appropriately. If you do not do these things, daddy will take that phone away and you will lose the privilege of having it. Same for, Xbox, PlayStation, whatever cream consoles you have. These are given to you. They're not yours. So long as you reside under my house, you are adherent to my rules that I set for you. It is my responsibility to take care of you and to teach you. So these are what I like to call given or personal responsibilities. Another one is making mistakes. If you make a mistake, take responsibility for the consequences that those mistakes may result in. And to be clear, consequences are not always bad. There could be good consequences, like say you do a good job at your job and you get a promotion. Well, the action was doing a good job and the consequence was getting a promotion. This is a positive consequence, but there could be negative consequences as well. So back to the car example, if you were to crash a car, well, there could be several negative consequences as a result of crashing your car. One, you no longer have a car, and you have to walk or ride a bike. But again, hope this never happens to you. Another thing about, and this one's a little bit obscure, but I do want to point it out. It's about knowing and understanding what choices that you are going to make, and understand that someone, somewhere, at some time is going to notice. What I mean by that is and taking responsibility for that. And what I mean by that is, say for example, you're walking down the street and you find a wallet on the floor, on the ground, you pick it up and you find a couple $100 in it. It's got the person's ID and whatever, but you decide, I'm just gonna keep it. Finders keepers. Say a couple hours later, you leave the area, but say a couple hours later, the owner of that wallet comes in and he's looking for his wallet. This is what I'm talking about, is taking responsibility. You found that it is your responsibility to go try to find the owner of it. Just because someone right there in that moment isn't holding you responsible for your action does not mean that someone later might still hold you responsible for that action. And that's why I use that wallet on the ground scenario, because that person came back. They want their wallet, they want their belongings back, and you, the person who found it, are responsible for returning it. So, all knowing and understanding that your actions matter to someone, somewhere, and at some time, some point in time, is another aspect of responsibility that I believe is not really addressed in the world these days. So that's why I wanted to point that out here. At the end of the day, as your daddy, as your father, it is my responsibility to teach you these things. It's my responsibility to take care of you. Until you reach the age of adulthood, which is typically 18, I'm responsible for every action you take. If you go destroy somebody's house where you're at a party, I am liable and responsible for that if you are under the age of 18. A lot of people don't realize that, and some people don't accept that, and I'm not that type of person, and I certainly don't want you kids to be in that kind of situation where that happens. And I want you to understand that your actions do affect someone, and you need to learn to take responsibility for those actions. I am responsible for you so long as you reside under my house and you are under the age of 18. So let me give you another example, just real quick. What I mean by this is, so long as you are under the age of 18, what I mean by this is, back to that phone scenario that I talked about. If I gave you a phone and you are under the age of 18, I have the authority to take that phone from you, because these are my rules. You are not an adult yet. But if you ask me, Daddy, what happens if I buy my own phone? Well, I'd say, if you are still under the age of 18, I would still have the authority to take that phone from you. I'm still responsible for what you say, do, and act under my household. But if you are no longer under the age of, if you are older, 18 or older, regardless of whether or not you live in my house, you are become the responsibility of that phone. That responsibility is now yours. If you bought your own phone and you are 18 or older, I no longer have authority over it. This is another example when I say this is still a given. This is no longer this is not an inherent, that phone, it does not become an inherent responsibility. That phone is still a given responsibility. You simply gave yourself that responsibility by purchasing it. So you purchased that phone, you are now responsible for that phone and to take care of it and to use it appropriately. I have no authority over it because you are 18 or older. So that's what I'm talking about, is your actions will affect it. If you decide to, throw that phone against the wall, well, Daddy's not going to replace it. I didn't buy it. It ain't mine. It's yours. It belongs to you. You broke it, so you have to replace it. Your responsibility. So knowing and understanding your actions, knowing and understanding you have responsibility for your actions, and that your actions can and may affect someone else. That's why I wanted to make this video. Because until you leave my house, until you reach 18, I'm responsible for everything that you do. And I want to ensure that you have the correct foundation for it, that you understand your responsibilities, and that by that understanding, you make the right choices. And at the end of the day, the choices are always going to be yours. And how they affect other people is the consequences. You have to learn to accept those consequences. That's also part of responsibility. And I'm prepared for it, and I want to make sure you're prepared for it. So I do want to end it by just saying, no matter what happens, no matter what consequences come your way, Daddy always loves you, and I'll see you soon.